And now it's time for us to move on to our main topic here today. And that is this. You know, I was literally in a meeting in Las Vegas yesterday when my phone pinged and I looked down. I get certain alerts when certain news items come up, they get a certain amount of attention. And I looked down and I saw this. Ryan Gosling in talks to star in Shawn Levy's Star Wars movie. Now, before we even get into the article, I just kind of want to point out that when something like the Hollywood Reporter and Variety report of an actor being in talks, 95% of the time, not 100, but about 95% of the time, that then becomes locked. Because you got to understand, by the time they get to the point of them negotiating the contract, it's already been established that the studio wants this actor and the actor wants the role. That means they've already gone through everything. They've picked, yep, this is the actor we want. Yes, I want this role. Now they just got to figure out and work out the details and get that done. Now, it doesn't work out every single time. There have been some examples when it's gotten to that point and then it doesn't work out, but most of the time it does. So for now, we're just going to go on the assumption that this is going to happen if the movie itself even happens. But IndieWire writes the following on this. Ryan Gosling is in talks to star in a new Star Wars film, this one from director Shawn Levy, according to multiple media reports representing one of the first major developments in the feature film plans for the Star Wars brand. Levy's project has been in development for years, all the way back to 2022, with others being added to the overall slate since then. But with Gosling potentially joining the galaxy far, far away, it's a big shot in the arm for the franchise and makes it likely this would be the next feature film to go. Lucasfilm and reps for Gosling did not immediately respond to a request for a comment. All right. Let's get this part out of the way first. It is most likely this movie will never happen because we don't get to have movies because we're Star Wars fans.
Yeah.
And when they are going to put a movie out, it's just an extension of one of their TV shows. Don't get me wrong. I'm looking forward to seeing Mandalorian and everything, but it's just an extension of the TV show. They're just doing this instead of Mandalorian season 4. So we don't get to have nice things. We've had probably a dozen projects announced and canceled. And so let's just get out of the way that this will probably never happen because the universe hates us. All right. That being said, Shawn Levy being announced to do a Star Wars film was one of the more exciting moments for me. Not because I think Levy is a top 5 director, best director in the world. I think he's fantastic, but I don't think he's like a top 5 best director in the world. But because I think he's a great fit. I think his sensibilities and the way he's able to craft stories, I think would be a marvelous fit for the Star Wars universe. Let's just look at a bunch of the films he's done in the last 20 years. Night at the Museums, which, listen, say what you will, those have been massively successful and have great cult followings. A hugely underrated comedy, Date Night. I love that movie.
That movie's super fun.
I think that movie is wonderful. Then one of his best movies, Real Steel. If you guys haven't seen Real Steel with Hugh Jackman, which I think was the first film he did with Hugh Jackman, it's a marvelous film. I absolutely love that. Then he did The Internship, which I didn't love, but was cute. I kind of dug it. I really like This Is Where I Leave You. I never really watched The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. He only did one episode of that. Then he did Free Guy, which you guys know I loved Free Guy. I passionately love that film. Then he did The Adam Project, which was way better than it had any business being a Netflix movie. That movie was great. He's a big senior producer and he's directed like 8 episodes of Stranger Things. And then, of course, most recently, he did Deadpool and Wolverine. I just think he has got an absolute right kind of tone for Star Wars. I think he'd be great to do it. Match that up with one of the best actors in the business today, Ryan Gosling. I mean, I think this would be great. Now, the only thing we really know about Shawn Levy's Star Wars project is that it's not connected to the Skywalker saga.
Thank
God is right. Like, expand the universe, please. right? Tell us stories from different corners of the Star Wars universe.
Yep. He's related to Kenobi, so yeah, this is good.
Yeah, he's actually Obi-Wan's little brother.
We're breaking out.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a Kenobi.
He's absolutely a Kenobi. Second nephew twice removed.
Makes sense.
But either way, it's got to be tied in, right? So, look, the one thing that gets me naively optimistic is that we never got any casting announcements for Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron.
True.
It never got to that point. We never got any casting news from Kevin Feige's Star Wars project. We never got any casting news from Taika Waititi's Star Wars project, all of which are never happening. We've never gotten to this point. The last time we did was for a Mandalorian movie, and that movie's actually in production.
And it was baked in.
Yeah, it was baked in, but then we even found out about other people joining the cast, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the last time that happened, we actually ended up getting the movie. Don't get me wrong, I'm not naive enough to believe this is actually going to happen, but it's the highest chance we have of a movie actually happening. I mean, even, Mangold, who's about to have a bunch of Oscar nominations this year, even his movie, he hasn't even written it yet. So that may or may not ever happen. But it sounds like this Shawn Levy one might actually be in motion, and it's close enough that they're actually attaching talent to it. Maybe I'm naive, but it gives me a little bit of hope. Anyway, Chris, I love the idea of Shawn Levy doing a film, and I love the idea of Ryan Gosling starring in it.
Same.
So if this works out, and we all know it won't, but if it does, this is going to make me very happy. What do you think about the news? Guys, we want to thank a sponsor of today's video, BetterHelp. Every January is like a blank slate, 365 pages waiting for you to fill them in. Perhaps it's time to rewrite a chapter that's been holding you back. Life isn't about resolutions that fade, it's about becoming the author of your own life story. And in writing that story, therapy can be your trusted editorial partner, helping you craft meaningful chapters, build resilience, and empower you to live the life that you've always envisioned. Therapy can help you learn positive coping skills, set boundaries, and become your best self. And that's where BetterHelp comes in. BetterHelp offers fully online therapy, making it affordable and convenient. With over 30,000 licensed therapists specializing in diverse needs, you can find somebody who truly understands your story. You can even switch therapists anytime at no extra cost. I often hear from some of our viewers who talk about having some real struggles and challenges over the last couple of years. Well, listen, we commit ourselves to getting more physically strong and healthy by going to the gym. It's time for us to commit to getting more mentally and emotionally strong by getting involved in therapy. So write your story with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/Campea today and get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/Campea.
Oh, I think if this is a real thing, then this is a really great pairing. I think one of the things that Ryan Gosling handles so well, and I don't know why people didn't realize it until Barbie, is he's so great with humor, particularly when he's the frustrated guy. He does affable nitwit really, really well, but when he is the frustrated, God, I don't want to deal with this guy, it's so fun. If you look at Crazy Stupid Love, if you look at Nice Guys.
So good in Crazy Stupid Love.
Tremendous in that film. Nice Guys, which is so underrated. He's wonderful in that. If you look at him in Fall Guy, right, of just, I can't believe I have to be the one to deal with all this. And I love that energy for a Star Wars film. And Shawn Levy does such a great job of balancing heart and humor. And I feel like you could do a really interesting story that has a very charismatic, maybe a little potentially slimy, spice trader or something of that nature. We could go into something else that isn't all Jedi and Sith here. We could do a really fun story, kind of like what we've been getting on the Disney Plus shows, where we're not necessarily following Jedi specifically. We're following some tertiary events around them. And I think you could tell a really cool story with a very likable scoundrel. And I think the two of them would be a fun mix.
By the way, I should address this, because this comes up a lot, and I'm not trying to center out our viewer, but our viewer, Elf Song 713 in the live chat, brings up something that I hear all the time. They're asking, why do they keep promoting Star Wars movies before they even have a script? I find that a lot of movie fans confuse a news organization finding out about something and breaking a story with a studio making an announcement. Lucasfilm, in this case, is not promoting a new Star Wars movie. They didn't put out a press release. They're not going out. It's a news organization with connections found out about this, that this was happening behind the scenes, and they broke the story. That's why a lot of times, like, people will ask, hey, whatever happened to that X movie that they announced? Well, they never announced X movie. That was some rumor that went around, right? But anyway, it's important to understand the difference between those two. So this is not a case. Now, unlike the Rogue Squadron one, which they absolutely announced and promoted before they had that movie going.
They had X-Wings on the ground.
Yes. So yeah, it's not like Lucasfilm hasn't done it. They have. But I mean, in this case, this isn't one of those situations. Mm-hmm. So look, I don't know. Listen, maybe I'm just so desperate. Guys, we haven't had a Star Wars movie. And we're going on 6 fucking years.
That's wild.
It is inexcusable. I get it. When you fell on your face, you weren't able to close out the deal with the sequel trilogy. By the way, I'm still someone who really liked the first one. I liked The Force Awakens very much. But the films got progressively worse until they ended up with the crap fest that was Rise of Skywalker. So I got it. I understood it. When Bob Iger said, you know what? We need to take a step back. We need to kind of reevaluate. I get that. Take a year. Take 2. Maybe take 3 to reevaluate things. We are 6 years on, and we don't have, other than a season 4 of a TV show being brought to the big screen instead, we have not had a conceived of, initiated feature film of Star Wars in we are going on 6 years. And so maybe it's just me being overly optimistic and a bit naive and whatever, but I really hope this turns out to be true because I like the director a lot. I like the actor that they're talking about bringing in. And I love the idea of it not being connected to the Skywalker saga.
Yeah.
Keep Dave Filoni away from, I like Dave Filoni very much, but keep him away from this movie because he'll for sure say, all right, but what scenes are we going to put Ahsoka in? Ahsoka's got to be in at least 30% of the movie. Anyway, so I like the idea. I just hope it happens, but dear heavens, just please make something happen.
It's going to be a raid on Camino.
Gotta remember this part, everybody. Anyway, guys, what do you think about this? Do you believe in the skepticism that what's the point? They're never going to make another Star Wars movie. Or are you a little bit optimistic that, hey, it actually sounds like they're a little bit further along on this one? Do you like the idea of Shawn Levy doing the movie? Do you like the idea of Ryan Gosling, good Canadian kid, by the way, bring a little bit of that Maple Leaf to the galaxy far, far away? Do you like the idea of him being connected to it? Whatever you guys think about this, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts.